gonna tell you what, man. I got black fatigue, and my black fatigue is all these black people who defend all this BS that come out that's either racist rhetoric and propaganda or supporting these stereotypes that can't stand up against the scrutiny of like a logical argument. And I'm gonna show y'all what I'm talking about in this video I'm reacting to. This is Stevie Knight. He's reacting to Steven Crowder. Crowder goes around and has these conversations in a barbershop, tries to make it seem like he's having these reasonable conversations. And some of the videos are decent enough. I mean, sometimes I get upset because I feel like people just don't push back the right way or ask the right questions. Now, I'm not going to say too much because I want to comment on it as we go through this video, and this video is long enough. But this is going to highlight why people have been criticizing even Stevie Knight, because he just agrees with the things that Crowder's saying and proposing, instead of seeing the flaws in these arguments and how they try to isolate certain aspects of behavior and disassociate it from the context of history. All right, but we're going to get into all that, man. We're going to get into all that. So I'm not going to hold y'all, man. Let's get started.
This is going to be interesting. Steven Crowder pulling up to a black barbershop, apparently talking about black fatigue. Hey, bro. But like Crowder is out here on a rampage since they took that boy Kirk out, man. So we definitely got to tap in and see what this is about.
And I think I've said this before, and I want to say it again. And look, I might stop a lot of this. It don't matter, y'all. Just dig in, man. We're going to talk. This whole black fatigue thing, I think, is part of a propaganda campaign to continue to put black people in a negative light and justify some of the things that they've been saying and doing in the media. Okay. And this is what really gets under my skin when it comes to some of these black creators and people who have these larger platforms, when they buy into this. Like, we're the only ones who do these things. And also there's a lot more to it than that. But like the generalization of black fatigue puts all black people in danger. These videos that we've seen of these Karens that do these things with their cameras and make up, oh, he's trying to attack me. And like that guy didn't do nothing to anybody. He ain't part of this quote unquote black, but it's a justification for people like them to do what they do. It puts all of us in a negative light, instead of just saying these specific people, what they did was wrong, has shit to do with a black fatigue. It's just that what they're doing is wrong. It's not put us all in that same category, but you perpetuate this nonsense when when creators like this fall in line with it. They fall in line with the rhetoric.
Okay, let's get it.
And everybody's from different places, different backgrounds. Some of us from certain backgrounds know, like, running your mouth too much in a certain space can get your ass whooped.
Yeah.
Like, you're free to say what you want. You're just not free from the consequences. Like, the consequences that come with you saying the wrong thing at the wrong time to the wrong person.
Yeah.
And that's where we all have responsibilities in what we say and when we say it.
Yeah. The problem, though, too, and I was kind of talking more domestically. The problem with that idea is a lot of people are offended by different things. Mm-hmm. And so people get their ass whooped for something they didn't say, right? That's the real thing. I don't know if you guys were following the stabbing there on that train in Charlotte, Irina Zarutska. Last time I was asking where you guys thought we were, as far as in the country relation. Like, have you guys heard of the term black fatigue? Mm-hmm. Yeah. You guys know what that means?
Since the last time you came, that's become a thing.
Yeah, I was about to say, that's just.
Now look at this. This is subtle but insidious. He takes a situation where you have a black man who suffers from mental illness. I don't care that he said, I got that white girl. He suffers from mental illness. And you want to tie this, although tragic, violent situation, you want to put this under an umbrella of black fatigue to bolster your argument that people are getting tired of you niggas. Not people are getting tired of crime. Not we're getting tired of there not being a solution to people who have mental illness out here in these streets. We're going to get to this part of the argument too, talking about him being released on multiple occasions, and they're blaming it on the system, doing racial activism, I guess. But it's a little bit more than that. But again, I just want to point out how he immediately starts by tying this tragic but violent situation to all black people. Oh, this is part of the whole black fatigue thing. All right.
Come a recent thing.
And do you know what it means?
I'm not sure.
It's a term that's being used by people in the white community, by and large, again, saying they feel like they've been victimized and they're tired of taking that shit. That was a girl who was dying alone in public.
They feel like they're being victimized and they're tired of taking that shit. Again, how long have we been in that position? And I want to point this out. We've dealt with it for centuries. Jim Crow wasn't that long ago, and before that, it was much, much worse. All right. Let's not act like, oh, it's 2025. They want to remove what's happening right now from the historical context of what happened back then. You can't do that. And I'm going to explain why, but you can't do that. Okay, so now we're going to use his logic as we go along through this, because if you think that you got a right to be upset and to be fed up with the actions of some black people, what do you think black people have a right to be when we've suffered from the actions of a whole nation of white people for centuries, And while some of the overt forms of racism, right, have kind of gone away, it's only moved to a more subtle form. Right, to a more, I guess you can say, just a behind the scenes form where things aren't so overt.
And that was a guy who was let out 14 times, including violent crimes in the name of racial justice, right? He didn't have to post bail. He didn't have to appear back in court. This is not the first time he's assaulted someone.
How do we know that was in the interest of racial justice as opposed to just being
because the judge said it.
A fucked up attempt at justice, period.
Yeah.
Like the legal system has its flaws.
Yeah.
And people have been making complaints about that for decades, right? But that's just, to me, that's a mental health thing more than it's a black and white thing.
Right. Exactly.
Well, I'll tell you why, because white people are saying it now.
Right.
Not just white people are saying, hey, we're in city.
So white people are saying it, so that gives it more credence. That gives it more weight. I really need y'all to understand like what he's trying to do here. Right? Because there's nothing new under the sun. It's nothing new under the sun. And I want to say this because this is going to be a theme too as we go through this. There's a thing, Jesus says something in the Bible, right? He said, a good tree can't bear bad fruit and a bad tree can't bear good fruit. I want y'all to keep that in mind, because as we go through this video, you're going to see exactly what I mean by that, because he's going to try to use the argument that you can be turned racist by certain black people doing certain things that can make someone radical and racist. No, a good tree cannot bear bad fruit and a bad tree cannot bear good fruit. You can fight against injustice or perceived injustice or things that you don't like without becoming something. It's not all right. We're going to get to that, though. I'm getting ahead of myself.
Bigger thing.
Well, because white people are 12 times as likely to be killed by a black person than the other way around. I'm just going to shoot you straight. It's not even close.
Where?
Across the country.
Where? Not in
the United States. I mean, we're not talking about Ghana.
Yeah. What I'm saying is, in white communities or in quote unquote so-called white communities
across the country, the rate is a black man or person, because most murder is men. There are very few female murders. 12 times more likely to kill a white person the other way around. And then you look at the average amount of times that someone in this country is arrested before they're brought in for killing, charged with murder. Do you know how many times they're arrested on average before they murder? 11 times.
Once again, the justice system's got its flaws, and people have been complaining about that for years. We spend more time trying to fix that than trying to complain about the white versus black of it all.
Well, I think, just like I was trying to listen to all communities last time, I think this is something that's unavoidable. If this community, if enough white people get pissed off, they're going, look, we're living in New York now, we're getting killed in record numbers, or Detroit, 12 times the rate. And our system, 3 strikes in California, right? That was a 3-strike policy. The reason that was changed, they said it was racist. Crime went down in black communities 30%. But now people are looking at their cities going, this is a fucking hellscape. And the murder is skyrocketed because people said in the name of racial justice, like 3 felonies, you're out.
Because crime is...
Well, yeah, some of the laws that were changed in some of these cities and stuff like that were kind of ass backwards. But let's be honest, man. A lot of those laws, like 3 strikes laws and all of the coke and crack cocaine laws, were racist in nature. They only made them, and it's been proven that these laws affected the majority of black people and people of color. This is a fact. This is a fact. And so while the response to change that may not have necessarily been judicious, right? You can correct that. You can course correct that. But let's not act like that right there is enough reason or cause to radicalize or make someone racist. This is kind of the point he's making. Oh, we're getting fed up with this shit. But I'm going to make the argument here. What they're really getting fed up with and what they don't want is the fact that black people having the fucking temerity to say we deserve better. We want more. We're coming for more. We're going to take more. That's more about what it's about, right? A sense of losing control, losing power. It's not about this bullshit he's making. This is all smoke and mirrors. This argument he's making is all smoke and mirrors.
Crime, right? But crime is usually going to be higher concentrated in areas where there's high poverty. So typically the areas that's high poverty in this country are areas with people with this color skin. So that's why you're going to have that. That's why I said those numbers could be skewed and made to manipulate to look like, oh yeah, that's why I said in
not at 12 times the rate.
In suburban neighborhoods, white people are not in danger. And that's what this kind of fear mongering tells them, is that you're in danger because you're 12 times more likely to get killed by a black person. You live in
and that's why you get these dumbass Karens when you got a black man who's just at a park or something like that, who think that, and this ain't a justification, but who think, oh, they seen fucking Crowder talking about this shit or whoever talking about, oh, he's dangerous because I have there's 12 times that there's a 12 times chance that I could be hurt by this guy. So I got to do something. What are you doing here? Why are you here? Why are you here in our neighborhood? And exactly like the brother just said, man, it's fear mongering, bro.
Ain't nobody coming after you. You know what I'm saying? Like nobody tripping on you. But these people are just as scared as the other folks.
They are if they get on a bus.
Not necessarily.
They are if they get on a train.
That lady wasn't in danger because that man was black. That lady was in danger because that man was crazy.
Exactly.
That man was mentally insane.
But why was he back on
family members? He had his own family members call the hospital to try to get him committed. He told his sister he killed that woman because he thought she was trying to read his mind.
Yep.
That's
why was he let out though? And I'm not saying
white.
It's because he's black.
Yeah,
I'm saying people look at it though. The judge said
part of black fatigue.
He's insane, right? We agree.
That's not a black and white issue.
He was deemed not fit to stand trial, right?
Right.
Now the IOU
institutionalized.
Right. The IOU policy, meaning you don't have to pay bail. Mm-hmm. You don't even have to stay here until you're actually convicted. You just say you'll come back.
Right, which is messed up.
Yeah, the judge, Teresa Stokes, black woman, said, well, this is about racial justice. We need to be softer on crime. So that's her reasoning. That's why he was out. And you can find dozens of examples.
That's her misguided reasoning.
And that's policy.
But that's systemic, though, right?
That's not representative of a whole.
See, number one, that's far from systemic. Far from systemic. Like, he's trying to make an argument that something that's current, that just started happening, is systemic. That's bullshit. That's her reasoning. It's faulty. You do need to deal with everything on a case-by-case basis. And I don't agree that people should just be let go because they promised to come back, depending on what the damn crime is, right? Again, there's a lot of problems with the justice system. A lot. All right. That ain't what this discussion is mainly about. But he's trying to say that things like this are systemic and that it's black people's fault that happened because, oh, they're trying to they don't want to punish you guys for what you did. And so because of that, these black criminals are getting released over and over again. And they do this and God damn it, they're doing it to white folks now. And we're not going to go for that shit. But mind you, this was the norm not too long ago when it came to us. Y'all getting pissed off about the actions of a few people, nowhere near the majority, the actions of a few people. And this was the norm. This was a way of life when it came to us. This shows you the hypocrisy, and we're gonna get to the root of this shit and not focus on the smoke and mirrors he's trying to put out there. Again, you will know a tree by its fruits. A good tree cannot produce bad fruit, and a bad tree cannot produce good fruit.
It's not. It's not. No. And look, we always have to say not all. Right. Like not all white people wear MAGA hats and are dumbass pieces of racist shit. But We have all been accused of racism, sexism, misogyny, homophobia.
Brother is either not listening or doesn't understand what Stephen is saying. All Stephen is saying is that the
come on, man. He's listening and he understands perfectly what he's saying. And his argument is pretty sound, I think. He could go a little bit further into it and say some of the things that I pointed out, but I think he's listening very clearly, and his points could be a little bit better. But no, I don't agree with him, right? I don't agree with Stevie on this.
Reason why black has anything to do with this particular conversation is because of these racist legal policies that some judge allowed that led to this particular
racist legal. These aren't racist legal policies. Some of these policies are really bad policies based on race. They're not racist, okay? But where is this same energy at for the real racist legal policies that still affect his own people, my own people, every black person's own people, that affect our people still today? Still today. See, let's not classify some of these bad policies as racist policies. They're not racist policies. This feeds into this propaganda and this narrative, okay? This has nothing to do with racism. It's just bad policies all the way around. It need to be fucking re-looked at and changed in some aspects. It's not racist. Now you're making it look like you're making it look like the things that's happening by the few are the result of ideology held by the many, when that's not the case.
The individual being free because he was black, right? But he's not hearing that. He's hearing an attack on black people. Stephen's not attacking black people. He's attacking this system that has.
No, Stephen's attacking black people in a more subtle way, in a way that a new form of racism is doing. They don't be as overt. They know they can't do that. They don't want to assault people. And I'm not saying Steven Crowder is a racist per se, but this is the new form of racist propaganda that these guys are not seeing. You know, you concede some points and you try to make these arguments. Again, these arguments that Steven Crowder is making is the same shit that we suffered through. He think that they got the right to get upset again by the actions of a few and start to build this narrative and project this image that falls on and affects the whole, when we've suffered through that and still are for centuries. But because it's happened to them in a short amount of time, enough is enough. This is black fatigue, this, that, and the other. And now it's about racism. It's reverse racism at this point, right? This is what Stevie ain't getting, man.
Resulted into criminals that should not be walking the streets, but are because they are black. If his stats are true, right? And I don't know nothing about that particular city or whatever judge. I mean, but usually Crowder comes with the facts. But it's one of them cases where it wouldn't even matter. Stephen could have a platter of all the evidence and facts necessary to, justify his stance, but they're not trying to hear it because.
Well, see, and this is another thing I don't like about what Stevie's doing right now, is he's not scrutinizing Steven Crowder's argument neither. He's not asking some of the same questions that I'm asking or proposing some of the same things that I'm proposing. Look, these guys can have this conversation and you can scrutinize each side, the side of each, and I would prefer it that way. Each person's argument should be scrutinized, questioned, and all of that. But he's not doing it to Steven. Steven Crowder is in this clip making a lot of assertions that just are generalizations, disingenuous, and Stevie don't see where this is coming from. He doesn't see where this is coming from, and this is the problem. He's not even pushing back on it.
They're talking from a place of emotion, talking about these other things that have nothing to do with what Stephen's talking about. They're talking past each other.
Well, what I'm saying is black fatigue is white people going, you know what? I know I'm not racist. And I know that we're dealing with record crime, and I know that I'm more at risk. And they have negative interactions, and they're constantly told that they're not allowed to voice their fucking opinion because they're white. And if those people get pissed off, that's where we actually could end up.
Cap. And again, He using words like black fatigue. I'm tired of this shit because it's generalized. It's a generalization, and it's putting all black people under this umbrella. Again, it's dangerous. It's dangerous rhetoric. It's insidious, man. I need y'all to get this. This whole black fatigue bullshit is insidious. Okay. I'm not trying to hear that. We're tired of it. We're tired of what? A good tree can't bear bad fruit. You can't take somebody who's a good person and turn them racist or radical. All right. There's ways to fight it. You can get upset at an injustice. You can get upset at a perception, and you can fight against that in the righteous way. That's not going to turn you into something. I'm not buying that. I don't buy that. I do not buy that. Even if something happens to you and you're upset at what happened or who did it or why, you fight that. You don't throw a whole fucking race of people under one umbrella just because of something that you don't like. And this is what's pissing me off, especially that Stevie's not seeing this and how insidious this is.
I'm telling you, I see this brewing. I see people who were milquetoast white suburban who are becoming actually racist. Now, not all of them, but I've seen people actually become racist because they get mugged, their store gets looted, and nothing gets done. They're going, and if I say something, it's turned into a racing. I'm telling you what.
So people become racist because they get mugged and their store get looted, right? All right, we're going to take this back again. Again, you can't blame the fruit for the tree that it came from. Okay, let's go down to the roots. You got to get to the root cause. To get to the root cause, these same things he's talking about, get mugged for no reason. You can't walk on the same side as a white person. You can't look at them. All right, we go through that time. Well, we go back to the fields, right? Being in the fields where we was killed for no reason. And I want to point out something too. People try to use this, oh, well, Jim Crow ended at this time and not. And bro, you got a whole generation of people who still actively, held that ideology. They had kids that came up that actively held that out. That shit didn't go nowhere. That's number one. But number two, again, he's saying they're mad at the action. I want to keep this. We got to look at this for what it is. We got to look at it for what it is. He said they're getting mad at the actions of a few, and now they're throwing the whole under this umbrella. And mind you, this is in a short span of time. If that's the case, using his logic, a good majority of black people at this point, even though we might not have lived through slavery and Jim Crow, should be radical racist. Because it should be justified because of the things that they had to go through, which are pretty much what he's saying, but worse. So he's given justification to a lot of the racist propaganda that's being put out there, and he's supporting racist ideology. He don't even got to be racist to be doing this, but that's exactly what this is. And this is why I'm saying about Stevie is that he needs to recognize this and push back on that. This conversation can be had in a whole different way, but they're not having it that way.
That's where it's coming from. At what point do we have a talk and go like, okay, let's reform justice, but we have to be honest as to why it was reformed in the first place. This guy, it's not even the only one. It's every 3 days someone's being off.
Not every 3 days, bro.
But at the same time, let's transfer that over to, there's a lot of unsafe things in this world. Like getting mugged by a black person is not the paramount unsafe thing. There's school shootings, there's road rage, there's all of that shit.
Yep.
And the primary people that commit a lot of those are people who don't have this skin.
No.
So if switch it over, if black people say, well, we getting fed up and we tired of all these school shootings and all of these road rage and all that, who do we say something to? Who hears our voice?
And when does the white?
This is not going to go anywhere. This is going. Black folks are not here to listen.
He's listening. See, that's what I'm talking about, Stevie. He's listening. He's making a counterpoint. He's making a counterpoint, which is actually a pretty good point. Steven Crowder's trying to make it seem like the reason you got white people turning racist is because of the actions of a few black individuals, okay? Or the changing of some laws in order to try to balance the scales that been against us for so fucking long, instead of making it what it is. Somebody did some crazy shit. We don't support that, and we're going to focus just on that person, or the law here is not working. If we tried that, it ain't working. Let's change it back. He's what the brother is saying is that we've been dealing with this shit. We've been dealing with it. Let me go back.
I mean, there's a lot of unsafe things in this world. Like
And that's his point. Don't just make it like the worst thing a white person got to worry about in life is a black person. That's the destructive and insidious argument that Steven Crowder is making. Oh, when I walk out the door, I ain't got the number one danger I got to face is a black man or doing something to me. He's saying, no. There's all types of shit going on. There's school shootings. There's fucking people running through crowds of people with cars. There's all types of stuff going on. Let's not act like the worst thing you got to worry about is a black man doing something to you, because it's not. So Stevie Knight missing the point. The brother, he heard perfectly what Steven Crowder said. Heard perfectly. And he making a good counterpoint, I think.
Mugged by a black person is not the paramount unsafe thing.
Exactly.
There's school shootings, there's road rage, there's all of that shit.
Yep.
And the primary people that commit a lot of those are people who don't have this skin.
No.
So if switch it over, if black people say, well, we getting fed up and we tired of all these school shootings and all of these road rage and all that, who do we say something to? Who hears our voice?
And when does the
How about when we get fed up and say we tired of police brutality or disproportionate violence against black people when it comes to police, like we did, right? What about that? What about when we start addressing the more subtle forms of racism, when we talk about how certain laws and things like that, or when it comes to jobs and policies like that are not in our favor? Okay. See, they move to a way where they can kind of hide better and kind of give themselves an out to make an excuse. Oh, well, no, we just kind of, this person was just a little bit better and they had a little bit more education or this, that, and the other one. We know what it really is. So what they're talking about is important too, but we got to take it a level deeper.
This is not going to go anywhere. This is going. Black folks are not here to listen at all.
He's listening
on this particular topic, but now he wants to pull the goalpost to get white folks to take responsibility on for things that they.
Dude, is he listening? That's not what he's saying. He's making the counterpoint to Steven Crowder that the worst thing a white person got to worry about is not a fucking black man doing something to him. There's other shit going on out there that you got to worry about. There's all types of shit going on. That's what he's saying. Is he even listening?
Are guilty of, and that can be done, but we got to talk about this. We're at this particular juncture, the whole black fatigue situation, but now he's trying to pull it over to white fatigue. But just to entertain this conversation, let's go to chat. Right? How often do black men come?
I'm gonna skip through this part because honestly, this part's a whole bunch of nothing.
Right. And we need to talk about it, bro. Like, we can't move the goalposts and talk about something else when we're talking about this. We can leave this. We can go to the mass shootings and hysteria and mental health and, white men and everything else that they tend to be responsible for. But we need to address this major elephant in the room, and can't allow our emotions to blind us to what.
Yeah, but the problem is they're trying to purport something that is dangerous and put black people under this umbrella and justify this racist ideology, to justify these, because this can definitely lead to other white people doing terroristic shit against black people. That's the problem.
What's going on? Not even allow us to have a conversation about it, bro. It's the whole fucking problem.
And when does the white fatigue kick in?
Well, we've been hearing about white. That's the point, right? We've been hearing about it all our lives, about white fatigue, about systemic discrimination. I'm Canadian, right?
That's the problem.
It has been done.
Here.
That's why we've done systemic justice reform that has led to more crime, right? That's the reason for no three-strike policy. That's the reason for cashless bail. That's the reason for catch and release. The reason for it, in the wake of Black Lives Matter, George Floyd riots, Summer of Love, was we're going to reform crime, we're going to reform the justice system, and it's gotten worse everywhere it's been. And then when white people leave those neighborhoods, well, now it's white flight. If they come in, it's gentrification. And I'm telling you, there are a lot of people who are pissed.
A lot of those policies definitely didn't work, and those can be changed. But mind you, this was just a few years ago. This was a few years ago. Ain't nothing systemic about some shit that just happened a few years ago, bro. I don't care what you say. That shit's still in the trial period. Like we still testing out. Okay, that didn't work. That went horrible. Let's go ahead and tweak this. All right, that's what you need to talk about. Okay, this definitely ain't working. We seen here that this crime went up when we started doing this. Let's change, but let's not act like this got something to do with black people per se. All right, it's an attempt to correct an injustice that was done way before that. Way before that.
Off, and they're not going to sit down and have this conversation and be real about it. And they're going, well, what happens when someone has to keep their mouth shut about everything?
Nobody tell you have to.
That's how they feel. That's how they feel.
I don't believe white people have to keep their mouth shut. I think white people don't speak up about a lot of the things that they do and they perpetuate that affects us negatively.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the stuff that nobody wants to. That the issues aren't made about those things. I really respect the platform that you have because you do have open and honest conversations. And I have to say, I don't believe that those numbers about the black people murdering white people are correct. I don't believe those numbers are correct.
What if they are? What if I'm not lying to you?
If you're not, then I've been misled and I've been
Bingo. Hit the nail on the head. Bingo. Ding, 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 ding. But that's why there will never be a solution to this, bro. There will never be a solution to this, man, because we talk in circles. He's there trying to get first acknowledgement of the issue. Everybody talk about the same thing.
Steven Crowder is there on a false premise. He's there and he's being disingenuous. He's not there saying things. He's not coming from a place of genuineness. He's not. If he was, he wouldn't be presenting his argument the way he is. Okay? And look, there's a reason black people don't trust fucking numbers because they've always been skewed against us. All right. If anything, Steven could have brought paperwork or brought it up on his phone or something, go to a website to show the numbers, right? Show and prove, as we say. But I don't blame the brother for like, yeah, man, you say what you want, but I ain't buying. At the end of the day, it is what it is. But that's neither here nor there. The main point is this. Steven Crowder is not there having this discussion from a place of genuinely trying to figure out. He's there trying to what seems like to me trying to justify why white people or some are becoming radical racist, and he's making it seem like the actions of a few black people are doing this. It's creating this mythic black fatigue thing. No. If he was trying to figure this out for real, he would first destroy that narrative and debunk it. Look, there ain't no such thing as black fatigue. Okay, we had some black people who did some things that was wrong, that was heinous, and this is some of the things that could have been done to change that. There's some issues with some of these legal things that been done, and we can tweak these this way. But let's not start justifying the fucking heinous racist actions of white folks by saying it's because of A, B, C, and D, because it's not.
And put our brains together to come up with a solution. But no, it's all right, well, that's your issue, then here's our issue. And it's just this. Back and forth. But he answered his own question. That is one of the biggest pieces of this whole problem.
These brothers, man, from what I got so far, these brothers, I don't know what Stevie's talking about. Steven Crowder saying one thing, and these brothers are giving a bigger perspective. Okay, Stevie, I hear you saying this, but there's no reason for white people to fear black people because we got this. So they're just Crowder's trying to look at it from a micro. These guys are looking at it from more of a macro and saying, look, it's not just that. There's a whole lot more going on than this. Let's not make it like black people is the problem here. So I don't see how Stevie Knight is like missing this point.
Is people being misled, being indoctrinated, being brainwashed, victimhood mindset. Right, all the things.
This ain't got nothing to do with victimhood mindset, yo.
Sect of the black community hate to hear, right?
Isolated from realistic numbers. But I know in this country, from the time that we got here and until now, there's never been hordes of black people that just go out and maraud and menace white people.
Right.
Interactions happen and things do occur. I'm not saying that they don't, but not by and large in number. We can't be this small a percentage of the overall population and still have the numbers that people try to perpetuate onto us. See, black people do more harm to other black people than we do to other white people.
Well, that's true. That's true.
You know, so because
he cooking himself, actually. He cooking himself, actually, bro.
people who are close. That's true.
We also have historical evidence of groups of white people attacking and chasing black people.
So it's
coming after.
So when people say
it's not happening now.
So I'm just saying,
and that's the point. Is we're at a precipice right now.
That's a part of the historical condition.
Sure.
Okay, see, this is why I'm saying Steven Crowder is not here for a genuine purpose. Is that he said it's not happening now. It is happening now, bro. White people attack black people all over the country. It's not happening like it used to happen back in the day. But again, he's trying to use what's happened over the last few years as a justification for people to be racist and radical. What about what happened to us for centuries? All right. And we also have to point out this. You can't say because Jim Crow ended decades ago, we should be past certain things where these things are rooted, right, in racism for centuries. People don't just come out of that. And this too, that system has not been destroyed. It has not been extricated. Okay, it has not been. So we're not going to sit here and act like it has been, like all is fear, like the playing field has been leveled. It has not been. When you've done things like destroy the family home through systems like welfare, when you've done things like lock people up unjustly and give them heavier sentences unjustly for decades and decades, when you've done things like set people behind, make it harder for them to get loans, on and on and on. When you've done that, even up until today, those are forms, again, of terrorism. Those are forms, again, of violence. Those are things that are happening to us by people he claims is getting tired because all we want is our rightful piece of the pie. And this is the crime thing apart. We setting the crime thing apart from this. The crime thing needs to be dealt with on a case-by-case basis. Let's not put black people in all this bullshit that some of these knuckleheads is out here doing.
But someone today.
Hold on. I wasn't finished making my point.
Yeah,
I wasn't finished making my point. You know, when like I said, black fatigue, that's the newest mantra that's been put out into society to make people think that, okay, they tired of black people. They tired of what you said, that we can't say anything about black people. We can't do well. When you hold all the power, when you hold all the economic,
I can't. I gotta go to a productive conversation, bro, because that's mind numbing. That is the definition of victimhood. And he just don't know. It's brainwash. It's brain rot.
What is victimhood about what he just said? Hold on. I mean, did I miss something?
After.
So when people say
it's not happening now. So
I'm just saying,
and that's the point. Is we're at a precipice right now.
That's a part of the historical condition.
Well, sure, but someone today.
Hold on. I wasn't finished making my point. I wasn't finished making my point. You know, when like I said, black fatigue, that's the newest mantra that's been put out into society to make people think that, okay, they tired of black people. They tired of what you said, that we can't say anything about black people. We can't do well. When you hold all the power, when you hold all the economic,
I can't.
He wasn't saying nothing wrong. He wasn't saying nothing wrong. Somebody needs to recognize that this whole black fatigue bullshit is bullshit. And they need to recognize the place that this is really coming from and what people are really trying to do with this. All right. A criminal's a criminal. Black, white, Hispanic, a criminal's a criminal. Deal with that shit on a fucking criminal level. Don't throw a whole race of people under there. And when you do, you got to recognize it for what it is. He ain't saying nothing wrong.
Gotta go to a productive conversation, bro, because that's mind numbing. That is the definition of victimhood, and he just don't know. It's
How's that victimhood?
You know what I mean? And nothing productive is gonna come from that. Just want to hear somebody have like an honest response and not, be emotional about it and be offended about it and try to come up with a solution as opposed to pointing the fingers.
He keep talking this emotional shit. I didn't hear any of them get so emotional where they wasn't making clear, concise, and like coherent arguments and counter arguments or points. I didn't hear any of them yelling or anything like that. What is he talking about getting overly emotional?
What if your premise is completely flawed? And what I mean by that is, if we're trying to understand it, you said,
what if your premise, because it is flawed, you're trying to be nice about it? You got to watch his words in the barbershop.
No, he's switching it on them. His premise, Steven Crowder's premise, is completely flawed. His premise is that because of these attempts to correct injustices that some have kind of backfired and gone wrong, but because of those and because of the actions of a few black people, that it's justifiable that some white people or a large group of white people are becoming racist or radical. That's his premise, but that premise is flawed. No, he's not questioning Steven Crowder's premise. The premise that it's justifiable to start becoming this thing because of the actions of a few people and to throw a whole other race of people under this umbrella. We shouldn't even be having this discussion of a black fatigue. We should just be discussing, oh, this is what happened. Okay, we got to talk about the mental health problems and maybe this ain't working. They tried this and this ain't working. Let's see how we can change. That should be the discussion. Not, oh, white people are getting pissed because of this and that. No, that's a flaw. That's a faulty premise.
Hey, what if your premise is completely flawed? And what I mean by that is if we're trying to understand it, you said you have power in all those institutions. Yes. What if, for example, you have an entire generation of people, young white men, women, who if they apply to a college or apply to a job, they don't have a grant, there's no Pell Grant, there's no type of subsidy, there's no DEI initiative. As a matter of fact, they're likely to be passed over. They hold no institutional power. And when you say black people haven't done anything, when you think of this white person, a young white person, because I'm seeing some people become radicalized and it can become a problem. Yeah. And then they see billions of dollars and riots and damages all summer long. And then they go, why is this happening? Black Lives Matter, right? So they're going to make that connection. Now they have no institutional power, but if they go into a neighborhood that's largely black, they're going to get the shit kicked out of them. And they're being blamed for something that supposedly their racist forefather did that they have nothing to do with. You think we're ever going to have unity? This is the problem. Unity, if let's say your dad's a or your grandfather's a and you walk up and you slap his teenager, you now have made that person hate you for life. And
a good tree can't bear bad fruit and a bad tree can't bear good fruit. Some of the things he just said, there ain't no justification for certain things. Nobody's saying that. Okay. As far as this, last time I checked, there ain't no shortage of white people getting into school. All right. There ain't no shortage of that. We need to talk about specifically if a certain policy or something isn't working, let's address how we can change that. What's been the results and how we can change that. But he's using that as a justification for them becoming racist. And as far as this holding people accountable for what their parents done, well, that's life, man. That's fucking life. Your parents do some heinous shit, you might have to fucking be held accountable for it. That's kind of how life goes sometimes. And I'm not saying that should mean like violence happened to somebody. Of course, I'm not saying anything like that. But let's not act like the shit that happened in the past is all of a sudden. See, this is what gets me. They want us to move on from it so bad. They feel like there should. Unfortunately, man, it's today's generation that in one way or another are going to have to be accountable for the sins of their fathers. That's the sad reality. And that's not even fucking sad to me. That's the fucking reality. They are going to have to be held accountable for the sins of their fathers one way or another. Period, point blank. And they don't want to be. That's why they keep trying to detach this whole thing and compartmentalize this fucking argument, but you can't.
That's what I'm seeing with not even my generation. Younger people are going, I had nothing to do with this shit. They came up during the riots. They've come up under DEI, and they're seeing a 12-time murder rate, skyrocketing crime, and any proposals they make not holding institutional power shut down as racist.
Now, I guarantee you this is going to go in one ear and out the other. One ear.
It's funny, Stevie saying this, because I feel like it's going in one of his ears and out the other. I feel like these gentlemen on the show are actually having some good back and forth with Steven Crowder. They're not making all the points that I would make or counter arguments that I would make or pushing back in the same way. But I don't think that I really disagree too much with what they're saying.
Ear and out the other. They're not there to fix nothing. They're just there to complain.
Why was DEI even instituted in the first place? Because for the majority of time that black people have been in this country and being free, we've been denied so much. Somebody somewhere had to put some things in place to provide access of some kind.
If you believe that, that's fine, but you can't tell that young white kid who had nothing to do with it that he should just sit down and take it. Especially when they're getting killed at
that's what America's been telling us for the longest.
The young white man that has to
not in my
deal with
lifetime.
DEI, the young person of this generation that you said that feels they're misled by the being mistreated by the DEI.
I'm just using as an example.
The thing is, you're trying to tell a people who've been on the receiving end of these injustices for so long to now have some sort of empathy or understanding because it's happening to the other side now. Look, injustice is not right, period, regardless of who it's against. And a lot of things could be done better with these policies. But let's not act like just because some white guys or some white women have kind of, I guess, missed out on opportunity because, these opportunities were given to people of color to try to help them get ahead a little bit. Because they've been held back for centuries. But there's something wrong with that, right? That's what they're saying. There's something wrong with that. And so this is where the argument starts to lose me. And this is, I think, one of the parts that Stevie Knight ain't getting is that it was all good when it was in all their favor. But now because someone's trying to correct that and course correct, now it ain't good because they're on the receiving end of what we've been on for the whole fucking time.
They don't hold any institutional power. Young white people don't. They don't have an advantage.
Not yet, because they're young white people. They have an advance to where they're middle-aged white people, where the power comes. See, what black people, once again, when you got colleges that denied access to black people, you can't come here. Something had to be put in place. Well, look, y'all got to let some black people come in. Y'all can't just
that started happening long before DEI.
But see, long
before black people were admitted into colleges, HBCUs.
Hold on, let me say what I'm trying to say. My bad. I'm trying to make it clear.
He's trying to do a senior Wences and talk through you. So that,
I get it. DEI is just a new way of wrapping affirmative action.
Yeah.
Affirmative action had to be put in place because there was the access being denied. So the legislation had to be put in place. Well, look, we can't just exclude all of them. So somewhere along the line, they have to be allowed some access. Okay, that was put in place. Now, fast forward till now, those same things that are put in place for those people back in those generations that are still in place, they're not excluding people from getting to places they're just still trying to keep those doors open so that those black people that were coming through that door can still get in. Because if you remove those, over time, we will be denied the access.
If a black person has lower SATs, right, and lower GPA, should he get in over an Asian or a white person?
Let me ask.
If all things are supposed to be laid out equal, no, you shouldn't get. If you don't have
that's happening.
That's what's happening.
What it takes to get in. No.
Okay, you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Again, that shouldn't happen, but that don't mean the system still shouldn't be implemented, and you just work out the kinks. All right, so it's just like, oh, because this is happening, well, just trying to find a way to fix it.
But
it is happening, and I'm telling you, young white dudes are pissed.
That's
I'm
not
telling
the majority of what's happening.
So white people are getting pissed. And this is the part that I really don't like. He's justifying them becoming something that's we've already dealt with when it comes to the history of this country. And it sounds like a bunch of whining and fucking crying, if you ask me. Because you don't have the same level of privilege that you did, because you don't have the same level of access. God forbid somebody gives these people who've been held down all this time some fucking access. God forbid somebody help them get a leg up. God forbid we try to come up with some programs and shit to help them get some opportunity. And if it ain't perfect, that's fine. Let's work it out. But goddamn. Oh, we don't got the same. Get the fuck out of here.
It is happening.
It is happening. In relation to DEI, first of all, DEI has been more beneficial. I'm a former commercial contractor, all right? DEI and affirmative action have benefited white people vastly more so than black people. All you gotta do is look at the business ownership or what have you, and you notice that as long as that white female happens to be 51%, then she qualifies as a minority and a double minority because she's white, she's among the minority in business ownership, and she happens to be a female, right? So you look at that based on population dynamics, and that automatically tells you this whole thing about this whole thing about DEI was, number one, not as much targeted towards blacks as much as it was targeted towards minorities, which includes that LGBT. I agree. Right? So when we talk about that, we need to really deal with the real problem. And as it relates to the riots, let me tell you something right now. Listen, in the black community, I'll be the first to acknowledge we do have intractable problems that are not going to be solved in one conversation. But what I'm going to say about that, as well as the reason why the black community becomes so infuriated, all right, is when you see gross negligence of justice happen or misjustice happening and nobody does anything. When this guy kneeled on this man's neck, we're going back to George Floyd. Look, if he had done something when he was subdued and on the ground, what was the real reason for kneeling on his neck except to inflict fatal?
This ain't going nowhere, bro.
Stevie Knight don't want to hear that. There ain't no fucking excuse. That's what the answer is. There ain't no fucking excuse. When the man said he couldn't breathe, they should have made sure he was okay. Drug addict or not. Period. Point fucking blank. There is no fucking excuse. I don't understand why he's so exasperated about this.
And this is the problem. I know it's what 30 minutes left on this conversation. Nothing, no resolutions, no common ground, nothing. It was Stephen saying this. Now, it ain't that. It's because of this. Back and forth.
He said no resolutions or common ground. I'm not sure that the point of their discussion was to come to some sort of resolution, or even to necessarily find some common ground. I think the point of the discussion was exactly what the fuck they was doing. Stephen Crowder saying what he's saying and them making some counterpoints and counter arguments. I don't think that they really was wrong in anything that they said. They was pointing out and showing the other side of what Crowder was trying to say. And Crowder is the one actually who came in there with false premises, with a false premise that it's okay. And these white guys or whoever are getting mad and they're becoming radicalized, they're becoming racist because of some policies and because of some opportunity that they may have lost and because of some crazy guy that killed a girl on a train. And this justifies this whole notion of black fatigue. And no. It does not. If he really wanted to have a conversation, he would say, listen, this whole black fatigue thing is a farce, and I don't like it. And here's why I don't like it, because it's putting all black people in this umbrella. We need to isolate these things and talk about the real problem, mental health, so on and so forth. If you want to go to DEI, you go to that. Like, it's not genuine, man. It's not genuine. And I think that what these guys said, and we're going to end this right here, because that's almost the end of the video anyway. And I think what that guy said, what those guys were saying, was on point, honestly, for the most part. And this is my issue, my main issue with Steve. I don't got nothing personal against a Stevie Knight or anything like that. But this is my issue with a platform that big. How do you not see this? He offered no counter argument or counterpoints to anything everything Stephen Crowder said. He made it like it was the gospel truth. A good tree can't bear bad fruit, and a bad tree can't bear good fruit. By their fruits you shall know them. Period. There's a system that was rooted in something vicious, evil, tyrannical, and that system produced a certain type of fruit. That shit hasn't gone nowhere. It's changed, it's morphed over the years, but it hasn't gone anywhere. And there's been a lot of attempts to correct things. There have been a lot of attempts to make things right. And some of those things have failed. Some of those things have been disasters, to be honest. But that don't mean you throw the baby out with the bathwater. That don't mean you blame the same people who've been fighting for the fucking freedoms that they deserve, for the opportunity that they deserve. So now you create this notion of a black fatigue, and behind that you put this rhetoric, this propaganda, where you try to make us now feel bad for some of the things that we've been fighting for, bad for certain things because of the actions. You take these bad actions from these, you take these actions from these bad actors, A guy killing a girl on a train, maybe some black people get into a fight, maybe some black people go off at that's not the majority of black people. And then, but you take those instances and you magnify them, you blow them up, and you say, this is black fatigue. And then you make it seem like black people aren't on the receiving end of a lot of violence themselves from white folks. And I don't want to make this like this is some racist thing, because I don't got no problem with white people at all. We're talking about, when I say this, I'm talking about the system, because the system, and that's another problem, Steven Crowder. He's talking about this is systemic, or whatever the fuck he said. No, it ain't. This shit just happened in the last few years, bro. You know nothing about the black experience in America, except what you fucking read about it. You don't know what we still got to fucking deal with on a daily basis. I don't know, man. Stevie Knight could have did a way better job in this. And he's saying that they didn't listen when he's really not the one listening. Because if he was listening, he would have seen the flaws in Steven Crowder's argument and been able to make some pushback on that and make some points on that. But he didn't. And this is where the criticism comes in, right? And it's justified. It's justified. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this in the comment section below, man. Make sure you hype the video, subscribe to the channel. I'll check you out in the next one.